Welcome to Nightlight. Step away from the mainstream and gather around as we enlighten the world and our realities and travel this cosmic journey we call life. Join us as we share with you and provide that beacon that can guide us all to a better way. Explore with us as we examine a metaphysical montage of spiritual insights, covering everything from the mundane to the magical, UFOs to unicorns, and everything in between. This is a time of awakening, of sharing and evolving, of spreading our wings and soaring on the cosmic breath of creation. Come and join with other light-minded spirits as we weave our lights together to seek understanding, enlightenment, and with a little luck, some wisdom. This is Nightlight, a reminder that you are never alone.
Welcome, everybody. It's that last Sunday of the month, and that means it's Neon Twilight Light, Neon Twilight, I'll get it, with Solaris BlueRaven. I think this is one of my favorite shows of the whole month, always, because Solaris has been around with us for a whole long time, and she's got such a plethora of wisdom and knowledge behind her that it's always a wonderful, exciting adventure for me. Just I know where we're going to begin. We're going to begin by saying, isn't it great, and let's get going, and we'll have a topic, and we never know where we're going to end up. So hopefully we don't get ourselves cautioned or warned about going off topic too far, but hang with us, because you never really know where we're going to end up. She's an author, she's a podcaster, she's a wise woman. She's probably, she deals with so much stuff. She goes into the future and into the past, and her wisdom just spans decades in creation. So she draws from such a wealth of knowledge that it's always amazing to see what she's able to suddenly reach into herself, pull out and put in front of us. And I often sit back and say, where did that come from? And she has magic about her that is so profound and so exciting. So Solaris, welcome to the show again. Welcome to your show.
Well, thank you, Barbara. It's always a pleasure to join you once a month here, Twilight on Nightlight. So thank you. And thanks for the introduction.
It's really interesting when we started talking about your being a part of the show and you came up with Neon Twilight. All I could think of was, oh my God, she has to do this now because it's such a great title.
Yeah, it does blend in, doesn't it?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's magical.
Mm-hmm.
And, I kind of, it feels ancient and it feels alive. And I think that's something that people today don't realize, that stuff that comes from great antiquity is still alive. It still has very great importance, and it has impact on our lives. And it's the stuff that on a metaphysical level that comes through time is always new and exciting, though based and has its roots in antiquity. And I think so many people forget that. They just, think, oh, that's old stuff and nobody pays attention to it. Well, if the old stuff has survived for thousands and thousands of years, there's got to be a reason for it.
I agree. Yeah, it's a living intelligence to some degree. Yeah. And I think when people put their intent on it, it just morphs into something more tangible, It's very
Absolutely.
interesting. Yeah.
Well, you have such a wide range of expertise, and we were talking about what were we going to talk about tonight, and you made a suggestion that I kind of said, Well, what's so ancient about that? And then I realized it's about as ancient as they get. And you suggested we would talk about water. Still there?
Right. Yeah.
And
There's so far as being, in my opinion, a record keeper, but also imprinting data. Yeah.
so what came first? I mean, was it the fire? Was it the molten whatever? Was it no atmosphere? Where did the water come from? You
You
know
know,
that.
from my perspective, what I look at is this place. The water was brought here, and it's as far as that goes, like terraforming.
Hmm.
To me, that's what it feels like, that it was brought here, that it wasn't initially here, that it was, more just like volcanic and a lot of other things, and then the water showed up. But and you think about it, we've talked about this, and a lot of people have done research over the years, but it is a record keeper of information. I mean, you can access so much data in the water itself, and then, of course, program it, and, I think it's fascinating.
Well, I know water can be programmed. In a similar fashion, I think, to quartz crystals. Um,
Mhm.
they
Right.
hold information as well. I know that I mentioned to you when we spoke earlier today that I keep hearing water of life, and of course that's from Dune. But I think water is life. Without it, I mean, we're what, 98% water, something like that.
Mhm.
Our
Right,
bodies.
somewhere in that window. I thought it was like 75 or 80%, but yeah, something in that window, and it's true, we're conductors of energy and we store a lot of data. And I find that that's an ancient amount of wisdom, if you ask me, when it comes down to what our composition is. It's really fascinating.
Well, and it the more I think about it, the more of course I turn on the faucet and there it is. But
Mhm.
it 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 has such power. First of all, the oceans, and then the streams and rivers, carve into the surface of the earth, passageways that they flow through in order to get to oceans and whatever. And it's alive. And forget about the fact that
Mhm.
it has bacteria and all the sort. I mean, it has a composition, of course, but the wisdom inside of it is really quite magical. Um, are there any ancient um, myths about the magic of water?
Mhm. Well, I think so, and if you think about, I don't know if you're familiar with, anhydro quartz. Does that sound familiar to you?
The quartz part does, yeah.
Okay. So anyways, then hydro is really interesting because it actually captures and encapsulates water, and it actually there's a little bubble of water inside the quartz itself, and that's estimated to be millions of years old, which I find really interesting. It's actually, they call it the ancient water, but it's actually sealed into the crystal during its formation. And check it out sometime and look it up, and you can buy these as jewelry. But that comes to mind in a sense of how ancient the water really is, and the properties associated with that. When you think about what we can do with crystals and the amplification. And then we have this ancient water as a construct there that actually is floating in between that crystal. I think it's
Yeah.
wonderful. I'm
I
just
have
bringing that up.
Yeah, no, I have a geode that how they
Mhm.
slice them and they polish the surface.
Oh,
Well,
nice.
and I have a geo that was sliced and polished, and it opens up into the clear crystal part is still there, and you can see the water inside it. So I
So it
often
sounds like,
wonder.
oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I often have wondered, and I know I thought it was magical and unique, and turns out it's not as unique as I thought. But mine is still unique, and all I could think of was that water in there. How could it possibly have been caught when the rock was formed? Because the rock had to be molten. So how did it
Mhm.
trap inside of it water?
Mhm. And you can actually see a bubble of water in there? Can you actually
Oh
see the
yeah,
bubble of water?
you can slosh it back and forth. Yeah,
Oh, wow, so that's what they call the anhydro then. That's fascinating that you
yeah.
have that in there. So I guess it was formed when the crystal was forming, which is, it's really fascinating, to dial in and speculate on it anyway.
But we'll stop and think. Rocks were molten before they
Mhm.
were hard. So something that molten should have evaporated the water.
Unless the crystal was formed first and then the water was sealed in. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very, very interesting. But those are worth money. Just a heads up for anybody who has those and yourself that they're not as easy to find as you think they are, and they're actually worth quite a bit. So heads
Well,
up.
um, I sometimes, have wondered. Now, I don't want to drill into it to get the water out or anything like that, because but that water is obviously older than humanity on the planet.
Some of that water is really ancient. I think they call it it could have formed like hundreds of millions of years ago, supposedly. So it
Yeah.
just depends. But yeah, yeah, very, very old. And I think it's fascinating. It's a part of ancient worlds and ancient Earth and the illusion of Earth. So
Well,
yeah, it's a time capsule to some degree.
that's kind of what I have thought, and every now and then I will hold it and meditate on it, and all I can feel is it almost feels tropical,
Hmm.
but it feels without animals or anything like that. It
Nice.
it feels as though, um, and one would think if it was tropical, if there were plants, there would have to be bugs or whatever to pollinate things. So there had to
Mm-hmm.
be bugs there, but I don't get the feeling of bugs. I don't
Mm-hmm.
get the feeling of, all I see is don't hear birds, don't hear any large animals of any sort. And it's almost like it's so peaceful. It's calming.
That sounds
And
beautiful.
it is, and it's almost mystical. It's like, but again, if you logically think about it with your left brain, it's, the plants had to be pollinated, something had to pollinate them, there have to be, but I don't get that feeling.
Yeah, it's possible that you're I would trust your radar on that one, to be honest with you. Yeah, some of our record keeping isn't the best when it comes down to the linear stuff, even though that's what everybody's been taught to believe. Sounds like you're right on track with that in the sense of what you're accessing. And
Mhm.
they say it can be up to like 3 billion years old. So I think it's fascinating, that kind of history trapped inside. And did you say that was an amethyst or is it quartz?
It's a geode.
It's a geode.
So,
Oh, very good. Okay. That's cool.
yeah, if it was amethyst, it would really be
I
spectacular.
was
No,
gonna say, I don't know why I kept thinking it was amethyst for a second there, but
no,
yeah, it's
just
really nice.
just a plain old geode.
Those are
Um,
great.
it really is spectacular, and I keep looking at it thinking, where did you come from? What was it like?
Mhm,
And every time I use it, I never see or get the feel of the fact that there were Homo sapiens of any sort there. I
it
don't get
probably wasn't then. I
it.
have to trust that.
So if that's the case, the planet was just sitting here waiting.
Mhm. Well,
And
it's been terraformed, so yeah, go ahead.
yeah, and then I think back to the book The Shining Ones,
Mhm,
where they came through a dimensional portal to terraform the planet.
and that's a two-way door, so yeah. So which means
And
you can traverse, you don't have to necessarily stay, right? So they could get here, do their thing, and move on, or they can be here, stick around with the descendants.
I don't know, do you think they would have stayed here? I mean,
I
I
wouldn't
think
have.
I know you wouldn't have. But I wonder, do they come back? Do they I know that there is a theory that in times of great change and mass destruction, especially, um, wise ones do come to the planet to help humanity start again.
Mhm,
And actually, Philip Lindsay, he wrote a wonderful book, and it talked about the evolution of humanity and the fact that there have been, mass destructions, and then wise people came in and helped humanity get going again. And the last time was, of course, this generation
mhm.
of humanity. And I think I've mentioned this before, but that there is a convocation of some sort planned astrologically for a reunion of the wise ones to
Mhm.
gather again sometime this year. And the place where it's been targeted, suggested, is the Sahara Desert, which the last time they were here was all tropical.
Mhm. Yeah, I remember you telling me that. That's really interesting. Well, it's this seems to be the year of big events, right? So I wouldn't be surprised to hear about something like that.
Well, it's. I think we're going through an amazing shift, and my who a number of people have said to me, there's a feeling that something is going to happen, something
Mhm.
profound, something massive, and while I go along with that, I do feel the almost the energetic opening of we're building to something. I don't get the feeling it's horrifying. I just think it's big. Um,
Mhm.
and my feeling is it's earth changes of some sort. I think there's
Mhm.
going to be something huge. Um, I'm feeling the South Pole, but I'm
Mhm.
feeling the North
Antarctica.
Pole as well because it feels like I know the North Pole. There's no land, but there are certain there's ice there, and that can melt. I think that there's going to be a northwest passage that will open up that will be free for shipping.
Mhm.
Now that's going to raise water levels uh, on all any place where there's a coast. The water is going to rise above what the norm is.
Mhm.
So that can be unsettling. I know I think it's China or Japan. I think it's China. They have they have found ancient markers to how high the water gets in case of a tsunami. And basically, it's don't build below this level.
Mhm.
So I'm wondering if it's tsunamis that we're seeing, or whether it's just the slow increasing of the water table, or what. I'm not
Mm.
getting the feeling that it's a man-made thing. I'm getting feeling a feeling that it's a nature type thing that is coming at us, but it deals with water. Are you getting
Mhm.
any feeling like that at all?
With water, for me, I just feel like we're at the end of the edge of the black, and I've mentioned that before when we've had discussions, but this feels very close to a different configuration of space time for me. So I'm looking at maybe not everybody's feeling that energetic, but I do know from a lot of people I've been talking to, they're feeling this kind of a spikiness, a very surreal and almost artificial kind of a vibration in the air. So I don't know if that correlates to what you're looking at, but yeah, I think there could be something in alignment with that. I'm not getting water, but at the same time, I know there's vulnerability here, especially in the United States right now with dams and such. So anything can happen if you ask me. And I think that you're describing, the north-south axis points. We've got magnetic north over there in Siberia. We've got all this energy moving, and a lot of other stuff's going on with the moon right now, especially with their experimentation. So who knows? That could also be a contributing factor, to
Well,
start something.
sun flares too.
Right. Yeah.
That's been very, very active.
Hmm.
And I'm just my sister is not one to she's a shaman, but she doesn't get into predictions of any sort. She just said there's an uneasy there's a stirring in the force, as she put it.
Oh, interesting. But they don't dial in any further. They just get a hit on it, huh? Hmm.
Well, she does mountain journeys with people that she study with her and stuff like that. So she's very connected to the earth,
Mhm.
and of the two of us, I'm the one that has the water connection,
Mhm.
and it's um, I think one of the most exhilarating thing I ever have experienced with water. Um, is one summer I was married to a ship captain for a while, and one summer he was the captain of 140-foot square rigger out of Atlantic City, and we took people out for day sales on it.
Hmm.
And I don't think that there is anything. And now this ship had a concrete hull, so it was heavy, and I was so
Mhm.
surprised that it floated, to tell you the truth. But but there is nothing that feels that will make you feel smaller than being on a ship that size at the wheel and have the wind take this, fill the sails and the entire boat surge ahead and knowing how small you are there.
Mhm. Right.
It was, I was fortunate I got to do that a number of times, and it was like there's something massive about the ocean that it can either cradle you or it can kill you.
Mhm. It's like
And
the cosmic seas. Yeah, it's like traversing in space. Yeah.
it was, and it was,
Mhm.
that's a wonderful way of describing it, because it's magical to feel the
Mhm.
wind just have you skim across the water, and knowing how heavy the boat is, how many there were over 100 people on it, and it
Wow.
was, just as light as a feather.
Mhm.
And I've had a connection to water, to the ocean, my entire life. I don't need to swim in it, but I'm happy to be on it.
Mhm. Right.
You know,
Yeah.
don't want to be in
That's
it.
that Pisces too, I think, with you. But yeah, I'm the same way. I'm not a big fan of deep sea diving, but I do love the ocean. I love it. I don't really care to like swim in it or dive.
No, I am, I'm Piscean. Yeah, I love water, and
Mm.
water is my friend. And uh, actually, anytime I ever planted a garden, I could guarantee you it was going to rain the next day because I had put stuff in the ground. And
Mhm.
I think my mother kept a diary, and I think I was about, what did she say? About 87%. If I was out working in the
Nice.
garden and planted stuff, the next day it rained.
Oh, that's wonderful. Garden divas. How cool.
Yeah.
The magical garden.
I have had some very magical gardens in my life. I have.
Mm.
Um, but it's just, I think everybody has an element that um in some way they connect to. So
Mhm.
if you had to name an element, what would you name it that you
Probably the
connected to?
ether, probably the fields, probably the invisible realms, the ether, like that kind of a
Mhm.
realm. I like electricity, that. So, but that's fire with me. I'm a fire sign. Plus, I have water. But
Mhm.
yeah, I definitely like the field. It's for me the most effective medium for me is what we call the ether. So that's the realm of
That
beyond the
that
invisible.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if everybody stops and thinks about it, there will be, air, earth, fire, water, ether.
Sure.
There will be an element that um, is their friend.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that I've always wanted to live by the water. I've always lived by the water. And when I moved to Tennessee, part of it was I wanted to be near the water, and there's no coastline here.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But but there's a stream that runs right behind my property here. So
Oh, that's perfect.
yeah, my son calls it a drainage ditch, but it's really a stream. It's on the map as a stream. It's not a
There you go.
drainage ditch,
Well, that's funny.
but he continuously calls it a drainage ditch, but it's not. It's a stream.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of it's fascinating. There's something about being near water that makes me feel secure. And my sister asked me once, did I think I was a mermaid? No, no. Um, I don't like to get my face wet. I panic in the shower.
Hmm.
So I think I drowned in a couple of past lives, actually,
Wow. Very interesting.
just where that fear comes from. And
Mm-hmm.
even though I understand where it comes from, I still panic. So
Mm-hmm.
it's I will take that with me, and hopefully next lifetime I will not have that Maybe I'll,
Mhm.
you know.
What's interesting about water, though, it's an activator, so I wonder if you're just getting, you're just more psychic when you have the water descending upon your crown and, you're in the shower, so it's activating you or it's reawakening you. I wonder if it's necessarily a past life or you're just dialing into something really, really big.
Oh, that's interesting. I never thought of it that way.
Or it sounds like a trigger almost, like an activator to me.
Well,
I don't know why, but yeah, go ahead.
I know that, if it's raining out, that's my kind of weather. I can sit down and channel like heck
Mhm.
when it's raining. That's almost a turn on for me. It's not that I can't do it at other times, but magic seems to happen when it's raining, and I love the
Hmm.
rain. And
Wow. So that's interesting. That's almost a confirmation.
oh, and thunder and lightning. Oh my goodness.
I love
I
thunderstorms, yeah.
oh, we have the greatest thunderstorms here in Nashville.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
It's, it rattles the walls. The only problem is too, it also has they have tornadoes here, which are a little
Right.
terrifying to me.
Yeah, hopefully those will calm down a little bit this summer. Or when do you get them? All year round or
No, the potential is year round, sure.
okay.
But it's I summer, spring in that
Mhm.
time frame. And they've hit pretty close to here, but I'm kind of in a valley, and I think that that tornadoes need flat land to go across, and they hop. So
Mhm.
I'm hopeful that I'm hopped over.
Oh, nice. Yeah, you're protected. Just keep those shields up.
Oh, I have no doubt about that.
Mhm. Yeah,
But
I
if
can remember doing like wasn't it a show one time you were actually in we were doing a show and you were kinda like in a room or no?
Yeah, yeah, I've been in my safe room
Yeah.
broadcasting a number of times. Not on video, of course, but
Mhm.
yeah, there have been moments that the cat and I have been hunkered down in the half bath downstairs because that's in the center of the house, and
Mhm.
she just looks at me like, "Why?"
I know. They're funny. They could care less.
Yeah, actually, she's never really spooked, and I have a feeling that although I know animals, theoretically will react to earthquakes, but
Mhm.
tornadoes not so much. So, but
Right.
I've been in an earthquake, and my dog and cat slept right through it. So,
Wow, that's amazing.
no, it wasn't a big earthquake, but it was like
But
maybe
still,
it was 3 point something.
you
But
think their radar would kinda cue them that something was up?
well, I looked at them and I said, you flunk. Good thing you're loving and you play with me, but you're no predictor of this kind of stuff. But
Oh, that's so funny.
I don't know what one can do. You can't run away from an earthquake.
Yeah. My dogs even notice when there's, air traffic over the house. They're very hypersensitive. Especially if there's a helicopter or something, they go crazy.
Yeah, we've got a lot of the Blackhawks around here,
Mhm.
strangely. Um,
Hmm.
I think there are. I think there are army bases around here someplace,
Mhm.
but it's times have so changed, and every time is unique, sort of, but it is a repeat of something from the past that we just don't know it's a repeat of.
Mhm.
But the times we're going through now, I think, are very unique, and it's really quite amazing to watch people's reaction to the changes that are happening. And I hear people talking so often about, going back to normal. And I keep saying, this is the normal. This is it. We're
Yeah,
not
there's no
going
normal.
back.
Mhm.
Well,
Right,
I,
there's no
I,
normal
I,
for sure.
I think what is normal now is more man-made than it is evolutionary wise.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah,
S-
they're building up on a false matrix, basically. Any way you look at it, it's a fabric of some kind that makes them feel more comfortable, if you ask me.
what happens when it all collapses? Does society go with it?
Well, I hope that they awaken and learn how to calibrate to the next field of perception, but I don't know, man. I think some people just don't have that capability, so they might just go off their rockers or might have some psychological fragmentation. I don't know. But I think a lot of us we ride waves really well, so I'm not too concerned about beings like us. But I look at the main collective, and I don't know what they're going to do. I think they have to have their little, they're like little squirrels. They have to have their little lives and their little compartmentalized environment. to some degree, where everything is
Yeah.
a certain way. And if they get pushed out of that, I'm not sure how they'll function.
Well, I think that humanity as a whole does not realize the power of nature.
Hmm.
And in many ways, we have manipulated um, natural events that should not have occurred.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
so that at some point in time, the rhythm of nature as a whole is going to kick in and take over, and a lot of people are going to be caught just shaking their heads and saying, did we press the wrong button? Something's wrong here. Something shouldn't have happened that did. And I think we're
Hmm.
coming real close to that. And I think part of what's going on is that there is an underground undercurrent of nature churning and getting ready to move. I feel the shifting of the plates. I think there's going to be a rather large shifting of the plates, and I know that I have predicted this every year. I've predicted, but I really think the New Madrid fault line is going to go off again.
You think so? And actually, well, that's in your area though, right?
Yeah, I'm right on the edge.
That's right. So once again, be careful with that one. Take a trip somewhere if it does. But yeah, that's highly possible. I'm expecting some interesting things happening here. I find that it's a chain reaction of so many other things. You were talking about the fabric and how everything is the linear constructs are kind of they are artificial. And then, of course, then you have a different composition like you're describing where you're feeling the plates. And then we have the
Hmm.
cosmic flow, a lot of other things going on with the cosmos. But with the artificial aspects of it, they've been using all kinds of technology for right down to weather modification for so long that everything has been modified and changed. And this world has adapted onto something that's more artificial, if you ask me. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see what goes on the next 6 months to a year and then look at
Oh
that
yeah.
on another level. Yeah.
Well, when I talked about the shifting of the plates,
Hmm.
um, I mean things are happening theoretically slowly with the polar shift and stuff like that. The last 2 summers, each of them has been more extreme than the one before it. So this last year, we had almost 2 weeks of 105, 110 weather straight,
Oh, I don't know how you do that.
air conditioning.
Yeah. What if
Um,
it goes out? But cancel that to the universe. But my point is, wow, that's quite a
so I'm
thing.
thinking it's going to continue. I think that we're coming into a time frame where I'm living will turn tropical.
Mhm.
Even when I was looking at when I moved here, I'm a gardener, and I had a little patch of land that I tried to plant. There was no soil, so I put stuff in pots, and they all burned up every year. I had it looked great at the beginning, but halfway through everything had burned up.
Mhm.
And so I'm at a point now where after this is my fifth year here, my fifth summer anyhow, and um, I'm looking at tropical plants. I'm looking at plants that can sustain almost desert heat.
Wow.
I get 12 hours of sun where my garden is, and
Ama
and if it's that hot, it's got to be tropical plants. It's got to be.
Mhm.
The only thing that I was ever really able to grow was something that was absolutely tropical, and
Wow.
so I am looking at just what I can put out there that will stand arid conditions, almost desert
Mhm.
conditions. I'm not going to put cactuses out there because pretty as they have flowers of, I don't, um, I cannot warm to something that can tear me to pieces if I happen to brush up
Oh, I'm not a
against it.
fan. I bought a hairy cactus and he's huge now, and I'm telling you, he's lethal. So, and I'm trying to give him away. Nobody wants him.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like I've had him forever. But yeah, it's just to water him. It's like, ugh, yeah.
yeah, and repotting him will be a chore.
Oh, I haven't done that, and he needs it. Yeah.
but it's kind of like, okay, so I'm going to put tropical stuff out there, and I will, it's not even a matter of watering. It's the blistering sun.
Mhm.
Do I put umbrellas over stuff? I mean,
Wow. Well, I think you're smart about the tropical, and then again, you could have a great garden if you put the right things in there, right?
well, yeah, but you can't. I absolutely, much as I am a flower person. I'm not a
Mhm.
not a you know common sense vegetable person, but I'll stick a couple of tomato plants out there and hope. But
Mhm.
no, it burns things up. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
Mm.
It's
Mm.
horrifying. And so I'm feeling an instability in the foundation. I mean, not the foundation of the condo, that's fine, but the plates to me are moving, are getting ready to make a shift. And I think
Mhm.
we're going to have a storm of earthquakes this summer.
Mhm. Over there, or where do you think they're gonna be located?
Well, at least here.
Mhm.
So I would think um, the other place where I'm feeling it is the South Pole.
Antarctica
Yeah,
area?
and I'm feeling that um, a lot of the ice that is miles thick is going to start cracking and falling off. So again, rising in the shorelines,
Mhm.
especially New Zealand and Australia.
Mhm.
That's going to be fascinating to watch.
Good time for a submarine.
I Yeah, well, what was that movie with Waltzing Matilda? Um,
Hmm.
it was the theme song.
Is it an old movie? Military movie, or
Old movie, yeah.
Hmm.
Um,
It
I
sounds
for
familiar, but I can't remember it.
Yeah,
Just wanna be sure.
oh gosh, this will bother me. I'll have to
Google.
Google it
Google is
later.
your
Yeah,
friend.
Saint Google. But it does feel like that there are major shifts coming. And the other thing that I am feeling is there's going to be some sort of incident at CERN.
Oh, yeah, I've been looking at that too. Yeah, there's definitely something afoot with that one. Well, they're working on the gate, over there towards the moon, and
CERN
then I don't
is
know if you've been following the NASA projects, but, I've been looking at CERN, applications for that particular gate that they're looking at for the moon. I forget what they're calling theirs. I have the Orion Gateway, but they're doing something different, and it's a gate. They're calling it a gateway or a gate, but it's in correlation to, their space station that they want to put up, and in my opinion, I keep seeing CERN, like a miniature CERN application there, so we'll see how that is. Maybe that's what you're picking up on, because
well,
I've been looking
doesn't
at that too.
CERN is apparently a circle, and the
Mhm.
circle, it's the tunnels that it goes through. It crosses two countries. So I'm wondering if
Yeah, yeah, we're looking at Switzerland for one,
and
right?
yeah, um, w- yeah, there are two countries that this tunnel that they send their atoms whipping around. It covers two countries, and well, CERN is international theoretically, and but I'm feeling that in some way CERN is going to be compromised so that they aren't able to split atoms any longer.
Oh, that's interesting. Hmm. Well, we'll see what happens with that location. They're very discreet about what they do over there, and of course, they've done enough research and experimentation, so I think they've mastered everything over there anyway, in my opinion. I mean, they can take that big area and actually condense it. That's my point. That's what I was mentioning about this new gate that they're working on, or the station that they're working on, because all the applications are portal activation, to traverse, in my
Yeah.
opinion. I haven't been over there personally, but it's my opinion, and I'm assuming that's pretty much what they have up their sleeve. So we'll see. That's a pretty good, interesting thing you noted, and since we're both kind of honing in on that, that's something to pay attention to.
A gateway to what? The moon or
Well, it's a spaceport is what if I understand it, that they're wanting to create a spaceport from the moon to, and I see it as like a close proximity to the moon, but in my opinion, I think the application would be in association with something like CERN technology. So we'll see what they're planning on putting up there
I
at this
know they're
point.
talking about Mars, and I don't see any point in going there.
Oh, well, that's just Musk and his obsession with something that he shouldn't even be focusing on. And of course, we have other, you know, and you know this for yourself. I mean, we're dealing with vibrational fields and frequencies in different space time. So their version of the moon or their version of Mars may be entirely different with a different space time configuration and frequency. And I don't think they understand that application either, because sometimes the moon is not the moon and Mars is not Mars. So once again, what trajectory are they using? What maps are they working on? That's a whole different scenario.
Well, from the first moment that I heard that the moon rang,
Hmm.
indicating that it's hollow, um, my whole feeling as to the purpose of it and why it's there um, changed. But the cool thing about it is the moon regulates our tides. The moon affects the water within our bodies. So the moon pulls on us on a spiritual level far more so than anybody's ever studied, which
Hmm.
which makes me wonder. I mean, if something as powerful as the changing of the tides, the ebb and flow of the tides, what does that do to our consciousness? On no matter
Hmm.
who we are, everybody's consciousness is going to ebb and flow as well. And has anybody ever studied that?
That's a good point you make. Well, I think that, we've always done ritual and ceremony, not everybody, but those of us who do that sort of thing, we work with cycles of the moon, a lot of that. So once again, there's that intuitive kind of design work that's in correlation to the moon phases, and also the emotional bodies associated with the moon. I'm sure you're aware of that too.
Hmm.
So I think that on that level, we all know as esoteric beings, as esoteric teachers, we know that part. But yeah, I think you're right about the regular mass collective insofar as how they're influenced and psychologically, energetically, emotionally. It takes on all different formulas. But I find that something else is going on because there's so much interest in mining the moon lately, that I find that there could be some kind of I don't want to say a dampening field, but definitely there's a different field of frequency associated lately. It's not the same energetic. Everything's changing, and I'm sure we're changing too on a vibrational
Oh
level.
yeah.
But I've noticed that more and more, like the sun doesn't feel like the sun, the moon doesn't feel like the moon. Everything here feels more like biodome weaponized, and maybe that's because we're just in a very technical, artificial intelligence related realm, and there's that level of singularity, right? So the idea behind we're all reaching a singularity with artificial intelligence. I think that's right around the corner. And that could be this pet. I mean, it could be around this year for all we know. So that could be something to look at too.
I don't. I just it's especially time of the full moon.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, cool stuff happens at the full moon. I mean,
Oh, I love
well,
it. Don't you? Harvest moons. I mean, I don't know.
well,
Everybody just gets
harvest moon,
thrilled when they
yeah.
see it, to see the
Well,
moon.
well, you know, I taught school for 25 years, and full moon time, you knew the kids were going to be crazy. And
That's
I
funny.
know people who are nurses and emergency rooms and everything on a full
Hmm.
moon again
Right.
crazy. So
Hmm.
it's kind of it kind of get to the point where if it affects some people so strongly, isn't that a perfect time to utilize that energy to go deeper into some of the spiritual stuff, it would
Hmm.
think.
Yeah, that's a great time. Well, that's why we do ceremony around full moons. A lot of us do.
Hmm.
I'm sure you're familiar with that, but the magnification of the field, yeah, I could see that. Definitely. I think people should work around the moon and the lunar cycles and start seeing how their energies feel associated with that. And of course, the dream time, dream journals, that's
Oh
another
yeah.
thing, it's in association with how they feel energetically speaking.
But even governmentally,
Mhm.
being aware that um I'm not so into politics or anything, to be honest with you, but But it would seem to me that if I wanted a bill passed, I'd look at a time when emotionally I could play on people's emotions to try to
Mhm.
push my whatever through. If it's a full moon time, that would be a
Mhm.
time when I could not appeal to the intellect, but appeal more to the emotional, mystical side of people, and try to appeal to that aspect of them to pass my bill,
Mhm.
whatever it was. But
Right.
I'm not sure that's being utilized. That's too bad.
Well, I think there are plenty of people in politics who have personal astrologers and timeline astrologers like what I do, timeline astrology, and I can guarantee you that, they look at their charts and they look at the lunar phases and they look at the moon, and, it's very, in alignment in a sense of, say they're whatever, Gemini. Oh, let's not say that. Let's say Aries, and their moon's in Aries, and that's better for them during certain, levels of what they wanna
Mhm.
push through, or whether it's an interview or something else. In my opinion, I think they go by the astrological imprinting. And also, the moon phases, yeah, I think they do pay attention. Also, the numbers, we've talked about, the 1111 and specific numbers that have a higher vibrational field where you can use those numbers like a 29 or a 22, those numbers. Even the 13 at some point, you'll see that they do use those numbers quite often, actually. I've noticed that with this particular government here in DC. So, yeah, they do. In the past, they have. I don't know if it's recent, but I have noted it in the past.
Well, I don't think we've given um, our government time to be our government to know what it
Well,
is
I don't
that
know what
they
they
would.
are anymore, so we'll leave it at that. Whatever it's morphing into right now, that's where we get out the surfboard. Yeah.
Well, it is changing, and
Yeah, well.
who knows? Who knows? It could be for the best. I mean, I'm not sure. I'm wait and see,
Mhm,
because our future. This is our future. This is our stability, and it has to be stable, and hopefully it will be. But
mhm,
when you look at the world situation, there's such upheaval everywhere that you kind of you can see it's affecting everyone everywhere. I know my son and his wife traveled this last month, and when they said they were going, to travel over to Europe area and Asia, I thought maybe that's not a good idea. But they were fine, and they hit Dubai, and they hit
wow,
oh gosh, they hit Cambodia, and they hit Thailand, and they hit Singapore and Hong Kong.
it's amazing.
Yeah,
That's quite
and
the trip.
oh, it was, yeah, great trip. I
Mhm,
and it's funny because of course, it's their trip and they planned it. So
mhm,
there were areas that I would have in those places loved to have seen that they didn't, of course, go to.
mhm, right.
But but and I think the only thing they have left is gosh, he said Australia, um, New Zealand, and one other place they haven't hit. Well, they haven't hit the Arctic either, but
Mm,
I don't think he's going to be able to talk my daughter-in-law into going to the Antarctic. So
mhm.
I wouldn't blame her either.
Well, at least they're traveling. I think it's, get it done while you can on your bucket list, if you ask me, if you really wanna go. You never know what's
Now,
gonna happen the next few years.
well, it's going to be interesting, I think. But what I have been seeing is populations are shifting,
Mhm,
and because of instability in countries and stuff like that, so that our populations are being redistributed in many ways.
mhm,
When you look at this country has a lot of open area that easily could be populated, but
mhm,
everybody prefers to be around the coastline, and I get it, and I don't get it. It's sort of like, but we had the Dust Bowl in the middle of the country at one point in time
mhm,
too. So
right.
I I don't know
Well, they
where.
don't. Mm.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say that I don't think they want everybody living, in the rural areas much. So, I think they wanna privatize everything, to be honest, and own a great portion of the landmass to such a degree that people will be kinda like putting those, smart cities. I think that was the initial plan for the 2030 agenda, although that could change under this administration. But nonetheless, that's not. I'm not doing that. I need to be either by the water, by the ocean, or
Hmm.
up in the mountains, and we'll see. We'll see how everything goes. But yeah, and that's true though. People are just kind of dispersed everywhere. They go where they want to go. They're like little
Well,
gypsies.
I can understand originally why they were on
Mhm.
the coast because that connected them to home, wherever home was.
Mhm.
But I mean, you look at California at all of the land that has been burnt and cleared. It's almost like it was done intentionally in order to
Mhm.
build something else or something different. And
Mhm.
and I haven't the faintest idea what it could be, but they have to get
Mhm.
ready for what 2 years from now, the Olympics.
Oh
So
right, yeah.
so they've got to build an Olympic city someplace, and isn't it a coincidence that the area that has been burned is quite in that area where they were going to build?
Yeah, and we don't believe in well, I don't believe in coincidence, so
I
that's
don't
something to
either.
look at, and then, of course, it reminds me of the Lahaina thing, where that was all just about some people said it was a land grab, and it is, in my opinion. I think there's a lot of that going on where people wanna privatize, a lot of big money comes in, and they just wanna just take up all that land and utilize it. So, yeah, it's real interesting to see that and what they're gonna do with the Los Angeles and the California area. I know they've been asking for a lot of money right now to just help rebuild, so we'll see if they even get that.
Well, I know that John and Carol lived in California for a number of years after they were married,
Mhm.
and the house that they lived in, that they moved from to come to Nashville, it burned down.
Oh, wow.
So I mean, they've been here for a long time, so it
Mhm.
wasn't current or anything, but it went up in smoke, and a number of their friends' houses went up in smoke, and they're starting to rebuild
Mhm.
already. But
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
a big concern, the forest fires. I'm always concerned about here, and we've had our share of fires up here. That's why we can't afford to have the forest services, we can't have those guys laid off or fired. We need them so much. I can't
hmm
begin to tell you how much we need them, especially where I am, because we need those guys watching our back over here near the mountains. We can watch and we can babysit over here with these people that come up here, and you know how negligent people can be when they start fires.
oh
They'll put
yeah.
out their campfires or they're just negligent with cigarettes or whatever else they're carrying. Sometimes it's on purpose. I mean, people actually will start a fire on purpose. They're that way. So yeah, we really do appreciate our forest services. And excuse me, I don't know what he's got up his sleeve when it comes down to the administration, but I do hope they reconsider that because we certainly need their backup, honestly.
Well, what I mean, where you are, do they do forestation stuff? Do they
Oh, they do
do?
all kinds. Yeah, like, mitigation, they do
Hmm.
controlled burns. We have guys up here all the time trying to, cut the trees down or the ones that look like they're a problem, like dead trees. So there's
Hmm.
definitely a lot of caretaking going on. They're not negligent in any form, they're really good. But, if you get rid of them and there's nobody here, then we have a lot of problems where nobody's maintaining the forest, nobody's watching the forest, and it's more than a ranger can do. I mean, they need extra people around, so I think I can speak for just about any forest. And, I live right like, I'm backed up right near the forest, so I'm actually in the forest just about. So,
Oh
it's
wow,
like Smokey the Bear. So and I've had to have emergency evacuations before, so I get it.
wow. Well, I know the Indians used to do. They used to burn to clear things.
Mhm.
They were aware of the fact that it was important to clear things out and take care of
Yeah.
the woods and everything. So it's only when you come to people who are more tall building oriented, and
Mhm.
they don't think about stuff like that things get out of hand. And
Mhm.
apparently, even in California, there were a number of places where the community was saying, "We've asked for this, and it never happened." We knew this.
Wow.
We knew that the brush was thickening, and
Yeah. See,
it,
they can't let that go like that. And they were always really good over here in the Rockies about doing stuff and taking care of the forests and everything else. And even down like in Superior when that went up in flames, I mean, that was a nice little subdivision and it was well maintained, but the winds were so high and everything else, and I still think there was something else going on with that. But nonetheless, it took it down very quickly, and nobody could do anything about it because of the winds. The same energy in association with what happened in California with the winds. So yeah, but it sounds like they
Wow.
weren't maintaining anything out in California from what you're saying, which is
From
really critical.
from what I have learned, no, and it's sort of like it's almost, when you move into a new area or a new whatever, and you aren't
Mhm,
familiar with the environment and what's going on, you tend to ignore things that
mhm,
you think can't possibly be a problem, and then you get hit with Santa Ana winds that are 100 some miles an hour, and
mhm,
I mean, I can't believe. I mean, I've heard of them. I've never experienced them. I've experienced a hurricane, and
mhm,
those winds are pretty brutal too. But what they were doing, with I mean, you don't hear about the fires anymore. So I have to assume that the rains have put them out, and now they have
mhm.
mudslides. But you
I know, it's just like pick your poison, really. It's just something. It's always something. Yeah, hurricanes, floods, mudslides, earthquakes, fires. Well, Colorado's like that now in a sense of just we don't get the earthquakes, but fires are just ridiculous now, and it's always a big concern. And now we've had a very cold and very low precipitation winter, which means that we're going to have, unless we have a really nice, like wet spring, we're going to be
know,
in trouble this summer for sure.
I don't think there's any area of the country that doesn't have a threat where
Hmm.
where nature is concerned.
Right.
Because it's either earthquakes or it's fires or
Hmm.
I mean, and of course,
Hurricanes.
yeah, hurricanes and tsunamis and you know, I think typhoons in Asia.
Hmm.
Uh, so that there's always some major natural um, element that you have to watch out for.
Mhm. Right. Yeah.
And I was semi prepared for tornadoes, but not for the heat. Um,
Mm.
because I mean, the first
That's
winter
a
I
lot.
was the first winter I was here, I only needed a sweatshirt all winter.
Wow.
No, there was no snow, there was no nothing. And
Mhm.
then the second year I was here, we did get. They said they were expecting a blizzard. Now I've lived in Michigan and Minnesota. I know what a blizzard is.
Mhm.
So when they forecast a blizzard, I was hunkered down and ready, and they got 2 inches of snow.
Oh, brother. That's too
And
funny.
I called my son and I said, "When did the plows come out, John?" And he said, "Mom, we don't have plows." And I said, "Well, what do you do?" And he said, "We just let it melt." And
Weird.
sure enough, couple days it was 50 degrees and it was all gone.
Yeah, 2 inches is nothing.
No.
Ugh. Well, they'd have like a nervous breakdown in Colorado or something.
Oh my goodness.
Montana.
It I mean, they call school off for
Mhm.
sometimes rainstorms, which
Really?
I think is hysterical. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That
But
is. I
then
guess they can't drive in it or something, huh?
yeah, and to be totally fair, it isn't so much the snow that is the problem, it's the black ice.
Oh, well, that is a problem. Yeah.
And it somebody said to me, "Well, you're from the north, and I said, "Yeah, I can drive in weather like this. I have no problem with it. However, the other idiots on the road don't know what they're doing, so
Mhm.
I just stay off the road."
Yeah, that's so true. They don't even have the proper tires a lot of the time. They do
Well,
that
no,
up here.
no, they don't have snow tires here.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a big deal. Being hit with snow.
Yeah. So, when I came down here, I had a four-wheel drive vehicle, and I did not need a four-wheel drive vehicle here at all.
Mhm.
So I don't have a four-wheel drive anymore. But you get used to and people just laugh at me here and say, if you don't like the weather, wait 15 minutes, it'll change. and it's true. But
Well, that's good.
I'm not used to that. but
Right.
but it's kind of like, okay, I will acclimate. I think that I still think the new Madrid line is going off again.
Mhm.
And I may well have waterfront property at that time, but
Are you
there
checking your foundation at all? Are you guys looking for cracks or anything that would indicate maybe a little bit of movement going on, or?
there have been a number of earthquakes that have been minor ones,
Mhm.
in here. I haven't seen any cracks or anything like that.
That's good.
Um, um, Now I'm going to check
Uh-oh.
earthquakes.
Whee! That's the first thing I
uh,
do is I look around for just, cracks in foundation or anything that looks like it's a little off.
yeah, nah. There's always going to be something.
Mhm.
Um, so I got the weather. That's not what I was looking for.
Is that an app on earthquakes? Is that what you're looking at?
Earthquakes in Nashville.
Oh,
Gonna
that's
see.
good. Yeah, that's so nice, those little applications, yeah.
Uh, oh, apparently there was one here.
Really?
Um, yeah, but not close enough by to have it make any difference, I guess.
Mhm.
Um,
They don't frack over there, do they?
no. Well,
Okay.
I don't think so.
Because I know they're gonna start up fracking again. I was curious as to if it's in close proximity to where you live or near the Madrid
Well,
fault line.
it's really close to where Mark lives.
Oh.
Mark, he's in West
Oh,
Virginia.
that's right.
Okay. Well, there was a 6 point near the Solomon Islands. Okay, so we've had one earthquake in the past 30 days and 6 earthquakes here in the last year.
Wow. That's interesting.
Okay, the largest earthquake in Nashville this month was 2.3,
Mhm.
and this year 2.8. Well, that was in Illinois, but um, they aren't big. They're
Mhm.
little rumbles. They're nothing that's gonna rattle the china.
Right.
So
Subtle.
I feel safe.
Mhm.
But it would be just my luck. I'm braced for a tornado and an earthquake hits me.
Well,
Um,
cancel all those out. And what about, I guess it's, Washington State? I think that's another one with is it an island in close proximity that has some kinda
yes,
seismic activity over there too?
yeah, it's a
That's
pretty
something
big
to look
island
at.
too. So it's the earthquake activity is picking up, all around the world.
Mhm.
So it feels to me as though we are playing so much with subterranean stuff that we have in some ways dislodged the natural rhythm of the planet.
Mhm.
And in order for the rhythm to come back, we're going to have to stop. And I don't know that that's possible because I do believe that they are building underground cities.
Mhm.
So
Well, I
I don't
think
know.
they have, quite a bit when it comes down to underground facilities, underground bases. Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody and their mother has an underground base right now, bunkers, this, that, and the other, and of course, they're really nice too. I mean, you could literally stay down there quite a bit. So, yeah.
Yeah, but what I'm seeing is down a mile.
Mhm.
They're really down there deep, and I just think I don't know why, unless they know something we don't know,
Mhm.
which could easily be. But it seems to me that if they're down that low and they're building cities, and I believe they are, they must know something we don't know. And a mile down would filter out any radiation if there was any sort of
Or they're gonna facilitate something where they're gonna have to retreat down there.
well, why did they build Derinkuyu?
Mhm.
There are a number of places
Where
where
now?
there Derinkuyu in Turkey. That's that
Oh,
site
okay.
that has 13 different levels of chambers. That it was they say it was large enough to hold, I believe, 5,000 people and cattle and whatever.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
the whole area went underground for a while and survived.
Right.
So why? And then of course there's the Indians who talk about the ant people rescuing them from something and taking them
Mhm.
underground for
Right.
a while again. But
Mhm.
there's not enough information to really know exactly why. But going underground has been something that humanity has done for safety
Mhm.
for generations.
Right. Yeah, underground bunkers, underground military facilities, even mining. I mean, that goes down quite deep. And
Hmm.
they're very greedy, about their mining. So, yeah,
That's
that's
true.
another part. Mhm.
Well, look at the salt mines that Hitler used to store, the stuff that he
Mhm.
had gathered, and it was I mean, they put paintings there, and it was the perfect place for them to have them. I mean, the salt would absorb the water, and
Mhm.
it was a perfectly wonderful place to store masterpieces. And I don't think that they have uncovered all of the different um, hiding places that they had. So
Mhm.
there have got to be some yet to be discovered, which is going to be very exciting. I'm very excited about that. I'm pretty sure they are going to uncover more of the loot that was taken from humanity when World War II happened. Hopefully, and
Mhm.
I have a feeling
Yeah.
that
Yeah, that sounds
they
about
will
right.
also. I think they'll also discover the amber room. I don't think that is.
Mhm.
I don't think that was destroyed. Of course, they've recreated it, so um, I don't know what they'll do with the extra.
Interesting. Well, I think, there's an awful lot underground, no doubt about that. Whatever, I know they're building all kinds of underground facilities with scientific experimentation too. So I'm not sure if it's a mile down, but it is pretty deep. Like those neutrinos and all that, the neutrino
Mhm.
labs, and I'm not sure if it's actually a mile or not, but I know it's pretty close. It's probably pretty far down. So, yeah, I think there's all kinds of stuff underground, and, yeah, it will be interesting to see, and I'm sure they've discovered a lot along the way, just digging out to get to those, areas and to create these labs,
Well,
Think about all
y-
that.
yeah, when you stop to think about it, if you go back pre-Diluvian, cultures and societies and civilizations that were here before the last ice age, before the flood, uh, they may have been doing the same thing. They may have been burrowing down. If you look
Mhm,
at some of the sites that are off Japan and
mhm,
San Francisco, they're underwater
mhm,
uh, now, but there are huge edifices that are there that were there for a reason, and it had to be before the last mass destruction and whatever happened ice age wise, or it's almost like every, I don't know, 5,000, 10,000 years, whatever it is, everything is wiped out and we start again. And
mhm.
that's what Philip Lindsay's book goes through too. It's really kind of
Mhm.
fascinating.
Well,
It's
that's what's
something.
interesting, Oh, go ahead.
No, well, it's I forget it. ISIS is in the title, but Philip Lindsay's only written, I think, the one book. So anybody
Mhm,
interested in it, um, it's 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 a wonderful book to have to read to understand his theory of the evolution of the humanity on this planet. So,
mhm,
but it does indicate that, and scientists say we have had at least 5 mass extinctions, and I mean,
mhm,
they've used lidar on the Yucatan Peninsula, so they know that there were massive, um, there was a massive civilization there that they're just now
mhm.
discovering in the jungle.
Right. Well, I think more and more people were. It seems like civilizations in general, whether it's this particular body, this realm, or something else, it seems like they do live underground or they evacuate underground. And it seems to me, if that does happen again, only a pre-selected group of people will be underground to survive that. That would be the people who are the billionaires and all those people who have money to get underground. Everybody else is kind of being, it'll be what it is at that point. But I find that if you do space exploration, I'm pretty sure that you'd find facilities underground as well. And what looks barren or looks like there is no life, I'm sure probably does have some form of life, whether it's, a sentient machine or something else. And I think it's all underground. I think a lot of it is. And with the exception of those, like, those crystalline domes where you have like a biodome, an engineered dome, a sphere-like
Hmm.
dome. I've seen those before. Well, remote viewing, I've seen them. But my point is, I think that we definitely have all these capabilities. And it is interesting to see how many more times, right? How many more times are we going to go through these processes? And you
Exactly.
know, it's just like, I don't know about you, but I get restless. But I'm a traveler. That's why I'm a traveler. So it's like, okay, here another one. We're going through this again.
Well, it's when you think remote viewing wise, I've seen some situations too, but they all seem to be underground as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
The surface doesn't seem of any planet that I've visited. The surface wasn't where he where life was. Life was underground,
Hmm.
as though the surface is just not safe from what's coming, from what can hit you,
Right.
whether it's an asteroid or a comet or a sun flare or whatever. That
Yeah.
once you get
Predators.
once you get into the heart of the planet, there's safety there to develop
Hmm.
and evolve through.
Right. Right.
When
Yeah.
we did the remote viewing, we went into, gosh, I forget where it was we went into, but I do remember that there were tunnels that lit up, that,
Hmm.
there was a cavern that had stargates to all sorts of different places, but
Hmm.
it was all underground. It was way
Hmm.
underground.
Right. And that's what they have right now in the sense of and it makes more sense because we have all this weaponized biodome right now and low Earth orbit's being weaponized. So to get away from the array systems and some of these satellite systems that are very invasive, living underground would probably be beneficial on some level. Although you'd have to really kind of terraform it to some degree to make it comfortable to be there, like its own little biosphere in order to even sustain. I've actually seen things like that before, not here, not on this particular world, but I have seen things like that before. I was going to ask you just a different question.
Sure.
I had a very interesting imagery of the Pope, and I saw it was like he was leaving, he was moving on, and there were all these people around him, light and all this beauty, and all of a sudden he went to a very dark place. And now he's in critical condition right now. So I don't know if
Again,
you even
well, wait a minute.
go ahead.
He had a peaceful night, they said. He was sitting up and
Mhm.
eating and talking,
Oh, that's good.
and that was the
Okay.
last thing I heard.
Okay.
Um, he Yeah, he had a part of his lung removed a while back, so he's had double pneumonia, so it's been hard for him to recover from
Mhm.
double pneumonia.
Oh, that's what it is. I know he was in a wheelchair with his knee or apparently had knee surgery, but he had just opened up those doors. I remember that just recently.
Yeah.
So that was another thing. He did some ritual to open up, and I find that that's I don't know, some interesting stuff going on when it comes down to what he's up to and where he's heading spiritually. I think he might be leaving soon, and I was just curious what you got on him because I wasn't trying to look at him energetically. It just kind of showed itself. So I was curious to see. But what's really kind of weird was that he went into a very dark place afterwards. It wasn't.
I
It was light. It was beautiful, and then all of a sudden it wasn't. It was like very. Is weird. It was dark, 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 dark. Yeah.
I I can relate to that with him. I think what I find fascinating is that his predecessor is still alive.
Hmm. Yeah, that's interesting.
And the fact that I thought that he was dying of cancer and that he just wanted to do it peacefully, but it's been a long time.
Mhm.
And it was almost as though, he wasn't doing what the powers that be wanted him to do. So he retired rather than getting knocked off. And
Mhm.
so we never hear from him. He hasn't written a book. He hasn't, he's kept a very low profile. Um,
Hmm.
and I'm wondering,
That's interesting.
yeah, I mean, he's still there. He's still a pope. So in essence,
Mhm.
unless he's died and I just don't know it, um, and that could be, but um, I think this pope has crossed a line someplace, and I do think that he is slated to pass over, but I don't know who they'll
Mhm.
replace him with or if they'll replace him.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Isn't he supposed to be the last one?
That's what legend has it, but legend is great only if it's in the far distant future. If we are
Mhm.
if you're up against the last one, then you have to either say, well, we miscalculated and it's another two popes or three popes or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
um I get the feeling that he is going to pass, but
Mhm.
it's going to be, he's 88, I think.
Yeah, he's up there.
And so it's I don't know how long he's been pope, but it does feel to me as though his time has come. Now I
Mhm.
don't know
Yeah.
whether it's this week, this month, this year, whatever, but I do feel that they are. Somebody said that they're planning his funeral, and he's not dead. So
Wow. So maybe that's what it is then. Yeah, he could be just moving into the field. He's probably already partially there or something, some aspect of him.
well, they're also planning King Charles's funeral, and he's not
Oh,
dead.
jeez. That's kinda sad, isn't it, in a weird way?
Yeah.
I thought he recovered. He didn't have that bad of a cancer, did he?
Well, I don't know where his cancer was, but all I know is that and Queen Elizabeth planned her funeral too. So,
Hmm,
I mean, it's sort of like, I guess, there's a lot of pomp and circumstance that goes into that, but gee,
right.
that's really, you know, I don't, you know, I don't feel that there's a need to, plan my
Mm-mm,
funeral or whatever, but I guess in those positions, you have to be prepared.
right. Well, I find
But
it always interesting they have, like, lead in their caskets, and I find that very, very interesting. I know it's for decomposition purposes, but I always look at it for transmission purposes also. And you know how
mm,
the body is, it's a vehicle, and the bones are very conductive for communication with spirit, and
mhm.
then there's this connection to the astral plane if they're earthbound. I find that there's so many different levels to being having a burial, and maybe that's why they go through all that in a sense, but it's very, very interesting.
Definitely. Well, by the way, there's a movie out there you gotta take a look at. It's called The
Mhm.
Convocation.
Hmm. Where's that
And,
where can I find it?
um, gosh, I don't know. I got it on demand on my, you
Prime?
know, on yeah, I think maybe you can do that.
I have Prime.
It's definitely worth watching.
Okay, what's the name of it again?
The Convocation, and it deals with the death of a pope and the convocation that they went through in
Hmm.
order to elect another pope, and it has a very has a unique ending that you don't see coming.
Wow.
So
I'll check it out. Always
I did,
into a good movie once in a while.
yeah, I didn't see the ending coming, and I usually, have it figured out, but I did not
Mhm.
this time.
Was it
Did
kind of
not.
a mystery, or is it kind of a
Um,
mystery?
yeah, well, it goes into the manipulation and the politics that go into the picking of the next pope.
Hmm. Okay.
And yeah, in a way it's a mystery. Um,
Hmm.
it is very interesting, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it because I didn't figure it out.
Mhm. Yeah,
So,
that's yeah, that is different for you.
oh yeah, because not that I want to be surprised. I always want to be surprised and shocked, but I'm so surprised and shocked when I actually am. So it's a unique film and it's worth watching. And it deals with the Pope and everything. But I have heard it rumored that the Vatican is bankrupt, and I don't know how they could be, but that's what
Oh,
I heard.
what do they do with the money? That's the
Uh,
question. What about the artifacts and all that?
yeah, that's
Mm.
I really would love to wander through the archives there, but of course
Mhm.
I don't read Greek or
We could
any.
probably still decode it anyway. I bet you we could. And you know
Oh yeah,
what? If he goes and they consolidate that whole area, which it's highly possible at some point in space time, wouldn't it be nice to be able to just have all that access and look in there and just kind of decode and read? And I would love to be able to do that. You know,
I'd love to know
the
what they're
archives.
hiding.
Yeah.
They're obviously they're hiding some stuff, and I'm wondering, if it. I'm just wondering what they're hiding.
Well, I wonder
It
if
would
it's already been moved or sold to the highest bidder already, so that if people do try to look for something like that that stands out, it won't even be accessible. And that's another possibility as well. It's
Yeah,
very
that'll be
interesting.
sad. Won't it be? I mean,
Yeah, it would.
it's kind of like that, what movie was it? It was a, Twilight Zone thing, the man who was bullied by his wife and he was at the library when, a bomb went off and it
Oh,
wiped
All
out
the Time in the
everybody.
World, is that what it was called?
Yes,
That
and
was
he
one of my
broke his
favorites,
glasses.
Burgess Meredith, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he's so funny and his glasses break. Oh, no. Yeah.
I mean, that's how that's what would happen. I mean, I can't read without my glasses. So,
Mhm.
that would be, I mean, a good magnifying
That's a
glass, I probably
classic.
could.
Yeah,
But
make sure you have a backup just in case, but yeah, that's really interesting. Well, they could turn it into a museum. Isn't that really what it should be at some point? Wouldn't it be
it
well, I
should,
guess people are allowed to be there, but they don't get to go down underneath. I don't think they get to go and
and
really
there are
look at this.
miles and miles of
Right.
records and books and
Mhm.
all
Yeah.
sorts of stuff there, and
Mhm.
probably, things.
Right.
One would wonder, is the Ark of the Covenant there, or
Mhm.
some of the other biggies.
Well, and I keep thinking that they probably sold them to these private investors like they do with the Egyptian antiquities. Sometimes they're not just down buried somewhere, someone actually has access and has bought them discreetly, and that's where they get extra money. So, who knows? But yeah, it's just a disservice because we'd like to see that. I know I would
Oh
see
yeah.
what's down there.
Definitely.
Great.
No, it's a trip I'd like to take, and even in, I've tried remote viewing it, and
Mhm.
I have seen it, but it's like bookshelves after bookshelves after bookshelves of old crumbling stuff that
Mhm.
that are waiting to be deciphered but haven't been yet, and I just can't imagine what the the overwhelming amount of material that is there.
Mhm.
And
Well, I'm
but
sure it was digitized, though. There's somebody must be down there decoding and digitizing it. I can't imagine it just sitting there and collecting dust. So I think they do have people that go down there and do their best
work on
to
the archives. Oh yeah,
decipher. Yeah.
I'm sure they do, but I bet they're limited in where they go and what they do and what they
Mhm.
say.
Right. Oh, yeah. Well, like I said, wouldn't it be nice for us to be able to just go down there and rummage through everything? I would have a field day. So,
Oh yeah,
you know, it could be fun.
yeah. It would be very much like all the time in the world if you turned me loose down there and I didn't
Right.
have access to something that would translate all that material. It would be like, it's all here. I can't read it.
It's like
That
the
would be.
Alexandrian Library.
Oh yeah. Now, I have remote viewed that. I have seen that fire.
Mhm.
Um, that was really well, cool. I have to admit I like fires. I don't wanna
Mhm.
see anybody's home burn or anything like that, but the
Mhm.
element of fire fascinates me.
Mhm. Yeah.
So,
I love volcanic fires. I could watch those forever.
oh,
The
yeah.
volcanoes, I mean, the energy associated with that is so beautiful. Even though they're so devastating, they're incredible.
What must it have been like in Hawaii to see, that volcano erupting and
Mhm.
I know there, you can die. I mean,
Right.
it's not a good thing to be too close, but they're beautiful.
They are. Yeah, and people don't even care. I mean, they trust Madame Pele, they just intuitively watch and they get close enough and then they don't get too close. I've seen a lot of people filming that though, but it's fascinating. I never witnessed that. I was on Maui when I lived there, but yeah, it's amazing.
When when that one volcano did erupt and it wiped out that town and it clearly wiped out a lot of people's homes. Um, I understood that the land would go back to the people who were native of Hawaii rather than
Mhm.
being sold to highest bidders. Is that what happened, or is
You know,
it
I don't know. I don't think so. I'm not sure. I'd have to double check on all that. Last I heard, they were all trying to, they were disputing an awful lot, and a lot of people were saying everything's a land grab now. So I'm not sure what's going on. And then I just heard that Haleakala Space Force wants to build 7 telescopes now for their to observe whatever's incoming. Insofar as that goes, I think it's more about defense, aerial defense. But nonetheless, that's. Have you been to Haleakala on Maui? It's
no,
a
haven't
it
been
looks
there.
like an alien landscape. I used to go up there all the time when I used to drive my Volkswagen, and I must say it's the most beautiful place. When you get up there, it looks like you're on another planet, and there's such a beautiful energetic. And a lot of people have seen UFOs, and it's very powerful. And then once again, military stake in territory there with the observatory. But I guess the Hawaiians aren't very happy, so they're trying to stop them from building any more telescopes there.
Well,
We'll see what happens.
is this about the asteroid that's aimed towards us for 32?
It could be, but in my opinion, I think it's more about aerial defense. I think they're just completely weaponized, and it's more about just going after whatever's incoming and also what's trying to leave. In my opinion, I think it could be a problem. Their defense department, insofar as just being too aggressive. But we'll see. We'll see what they're after.
Well, I know they're predicting that this asteroid could hit us.
Yeah, what year was that again?
32.
Oh, I won't even be around. I doubt, but yeah, that's awfully far off. A
No,
lot
it's
can
not.
happen. Oh, it is. It's only
25, 35,
2025.
10.
Oh, by the time
Uh,
that comes around, it'll be something else.
it's only
They always
12 years from now. Come on.
good grief. Yeah. Well, didn't we
It
hear something about a different one that was like 4 years ago and nothing happened?
Well,
Oh,
yeah,
well.
but look at when Y2K, everything was going to blow up and nothing happened.
Yeah, but I did store everything. I had my basement full of everything that you can imagine. I was prepared. And I wasn't even a prepper back then.
Well, I have a number of times because of, things that are happening, whether it was the pandemic or whether it was, there's going to be a shortage of stuff because they're not letting ships in and stuff like that. I I uh, I put up a lot of stuff that I have tried to eat my way through, and some of it just expired before I could get to it. So
Mhm.
um, that's the problem. And at one
Mhm.
point when they were going to have the blockade, I bought cases of toilet paper and paper towels.
Mhm. So you're
No
one of
food,
those.
not no food, just toilet paper and paper towels.
Well, that's good.
And because I already had the canned goods, um,
Mhm.
and it's sitting in my garage, and I'm working my way through it slowly. But I think if somebody says there's going to be a shortage of something, you better grab stuff now. I'm
Agree.
I'm going to sit back and say, yeah, I'm not real sure. Um, Jeannie has a lot of prepper food that she has.
Mhm.
She has 4 or 5 years worth of it.
Mm, that's good.
Um, oh,
Well,
it
I have
lasts.
that stuff that lasts for 20 years. You know those little buckets of whatever you can buy?
Yeah, I've got one of.
My
I
the
have
Patriot
one.
Supply thing. I have a lot
Yeah.
of that. So, I mean, it sits there and hopefully it is gonna be worth something insofar as but that's all I have in a sense of that goes. And then I will like my coffee, so I definitely will stock up on something like that.
Let me ask you something. When it gets to um 25 years after you bought it,
Mhm.
will you break it out and start to eat it, or will you just say,
No,
well,
I'm gonna toss it. I don't know about you. I don't trust anything that's I know people can eat things and they say they're good and you can't get sick, but I am weird about expiration dates. I don't know about you.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, really weird
Actually,
about it.
I have become more and more attuned to it. I I don't know why. I'm not exactly a cook. I mean, I can cook, but I had yogurt and I never looked at the expiration date on the yogurt because my theory was yogurt had already gone bad to become
Mhm.
yogurt. So
Mhm.
if it went beyond its expiration date, did it go good? So
Hmm.
because you can't go bad if you're already bad.
Mhm.
And just for everyone's information, it can go worse because it made me very sick.
Right. Oh, yeah, no, no, I wouldn't eat anything that expires. I'm a weirdo when it comes to that stuff. I really am.
No,
And
I
I see it
do.
on shelves now. You go into the grocery stores, they'll try to put the stuff that's expired on the shelf. You have to really double check everything. And nothing's worse than going home and then getting something that's been expired,
No,
because I'll throw it out. I don't even bother to
I
go.
I look at things like eggs, and
Yeah.
when the expiration date comes, they go.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it's the same with yogurt and stuff like that. I pay a lot better attention to things than I used to. When I
Mhm.
moved here, I had full cupboards, and it was like, well, this is great. I'll just pack it all and I'll just restock. I'll be fine. And
Mhm.
when I started to pack it, I realized almost all of it had expired,
Oh, gee.
and spices expired.
Mhm.
A dried spice. Now, how can that expire?
Well, I still throw it out. They say that they don't expire like spices. I'm sorry. I'll toss everything. I don't care. Even honey. They say honey never expires, but I toss it when it expires. I don't care. I just don't even take that chance. I had dated a crazy cameraman in California. I don't know if I told you, but this was years and years and years ago. But I went to his kitchen. I mean, everything was expired like 6 years ago. Like, and I about had a breakdown. I was like, I got the plastic bag and I threw it all out. And I'm thinking to myself, are you crazy, man? Look at all this stuff. It's all expired. And it's not just like 6 months. It was like 4 or 5 years. I'm like, oh my
Oh,
gosh.
wow.
I,
I
I couldn't
dated
believe it that people live like that.
I dated a guy once, and I remember in the middle of the night, I needed an aspirin. I got up and I went and I got an aspirin, and I looked at and it was expired, but I took it anyhow.
Mhm.
And when I went back into the bedroom, he said, "You okay?" And I said, "Yeah, I just needed an aspirin." And by the way, he had this whole back of a door with little trays in it, and I said, 90% of what you've got on those trays is expired. And he said, "What?" And I said, "Yeah, I just checked a couple as I was in there." And 2 o'clock in the morning, he got up, he put it all in a plastic bag, and I thought, okay, he's a little strange. He was a little strange anyhow, but and I thought, okay, so he's just clearing it out. And before I knew what was happening, at 3 o'clock in the morning, he was dressed and he went out to a local, 24/7 drugstore. He replaced everything.
Oh, wow.
By 5 o'clock in the morning, his door was up to date.
Oh, that's too funny.
He was strange. He was cool. He was a strange, cool guy.
Well,
But
at least he
but
paid attention.
well, yeah, sort of it was he was drawn to it, absolutely. But I try to stay with food within a day or so, but
Mhm.
um, especially with medicine too. You know,
Oh,
you,
yeah.
you
Well, they say you can still take it. I mean, I hear it all the time, but I don't. And then I'll Google it, and sometimes it'll say it's good, and then it says no, throw it out. So I just think it's probably better not to have it.
well, I check with medicine. I check shelf life
Mhm.
because
Yeah, that's good.
they say to renew it after so many, but that's because they want you to buy it again.
That's what I hear. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then I think the
and
worst case scenario is it just won't be as potent.
yeah. Well, the strongest thing I take is aspirin, so
Right.
it's it is what it is.
Right.
But
Definitely.
you do they've got this new kit that they're selling on. It was on TV, I think. it was a medical kit for emergencies, and it had medicine in it already for heart stuff and, all
Mhm.
sorts of other different, and I thought, "Oh, that's so cool, but I don't have these problems, so why
That's
would
good.
I buy this?"
Right. Well, it's good to have emergency the only emergency kits I like are the ones that have, like, antibiotics or maybe a steroid, the stuff that you could use in an emergency. I think that's very important to have. But, yeah,
But they
but count
they
your blessings.
they expire too, though, so
Right,
do you put the money into that? Are you betting?
right,
In many ways, you're betting on your own life, which is, something you don't bet on. I mean, if you have the
right.
money to get it and it has that kind of material in it, it's a smart thing to get,
I
so
think
long as
so.
you're still have money for food and stuff like
Right.
that.
Well, you're talking to someone who has a gas mask in their house, so I
Really?
mean, I bought one of those years ago, yeah. After the 2020 fiasco, I was like, "Okay, I'm getting a gas mask." So I bought one. I mean, I'm not a prepper, but I do have stuff. So just, to be, rest easy on.
Well, a while back, on one of my predictions, I forget, it was probably, I don't know, a year ago or so. I suggested at the end of the prediction that, you know, it would be a good idea to have a go bag ready just in case. And a number of people um, went out and got one immediately. And one of my friends said, "Well, I got my go bag." And I said, "Great." And she said, "Do you have yours?" And I said, um, "Not yet." And so I bought a go bag. And
Good.
well, yeah, I can't tell people to do something and not do it myself.
Right.
That's really
Yeah.
ridiculous. And so now it's heavy, but
Mhm.
I have it sitting in my laundry room. So if I have to grab it and throw it in my car, I can do that. Or if I have to grab it and drag it into my safe room with me and the cat,
Mhm.
I can do that too. But it's sitting there, and
Mhm.
um, it has, water purification stuff in it and all sorts of, and first aid and a lamp and a radio and all sorts of it's really cool. I haven't really opened it up and looked at everything because I'm pretty sure if I open it up, I'll never get it all back in.
Mhm.
So
Right. At least
so I so I have my go bag, and now I can actually say to people, a go bag's a good idea. And my granddaughter, sorry, granddaughter, um, she goes to USC. And so when the fires broke out, um, all I could think of was she doesn't have a go bag, you
hmm.
know. And I finally got a hold of her, and she was okay. She said that the air quality was bad, but she was okay, and they were doing stuff virtually, and it seemed like she was okay.
Mhm.
And I thought, I should send her a go bag, but
Yeah. Did you?
um, no, I didn't, because I didn't want to seem crazy.
Oh, no, that's not crazy. I think that's a really good idea. You might wanna try and do it again. I would.
I may wait until you know next year, and when she goes out to California again, I'll send one out to her.
Definitely one for there. Yeah.
I mean, you've got earthquake and you've got fire. Now, having a go bag that is good for 3 days worth of survival is not a bad idea to have.
No, not at all. I keep one in my car all the time. I always have stuff in my car, in the back of my vehicle for emergencies. So
Well,
I think
my
it's I
my
think everybody should have something in their car.
oh, absolute flares, if nothing else.
Mhm. Candles or blankets, I mean, especially depending on where you live here,
Oh
but
yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
No, I was going to put it in my car, and then I thought, well, what if a tornado hit? Then I should
Then
probably
you
have had it with me. So it's now in the middle, and I've got it there.
well, that's
So
good. No, you'll be
yeah,
fine, and care about the tornadoes, hopefully none this year, right?
no, I'm not
See what
planning on it.
happens.
Here's my theory: if you're prepared for it, chances are it's not going to happen.
True.
If you're not prepared for it and people are talking about it, good idea to do something. And so long as it doesn't break the bank or anything like that.
Mhm.
But yeah, I always, when I was traveling and doing fairs and stuff like that, I always had what I would consider a go bag in my car. It had a change
Mhm.
of clothing, it had flashlights, and it had flares, and it had a blanket. I was ready in case something happened and I got pulled over, or the car broke down or something like that.
Mhm.
I was prepared. I
Mhm.
don't I don't travel out that much now. I go to the grocery store and then come back.
Mhm.
So it's not as necessary for me to have in the car
Right.
as it might have. I because I work from home, you know, I go to work upstairs. I don't go
Right. You don't have
outside.
to go anywhere. Yeah,
Yeah,
there was a long time when I used to put, my bicycle, even my mountain bike, I'd put it in the back of my car just in for backup in case something happened to my vehicle. I was so
it,
weird, you know?
yeah,
But it came in handy in case you never know if you need your bike or something, so
absolutely. It's funny when I think a go bag is important for just about everybody. And
Mhm.
when my mother, when she was going downhill, I had
You're frozen.
couple of good books, deck of cards, and 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 always I had at least 10 sheets of her current medications because she had a lot.
Mhm.
And when they come in and they see you in the hospital, it's they take a history and they want to know, and I just would hand them the sheet. It was kind of like
Mhm.
I was prepared.
Right.
And I always restocked it, and it was always ready with candy bars and stuff.
Oh, that's
And
good.
so that if we had to we went to the emergency room a lot. And it they got to know us very, very well. And one time a nurse came in and said, "What's in your go bag as far as books go?" And my mother said, "I didn't check." And she found one. She said, "Can I borrow this?" And
Oh, how funny.
they knew she had a go bag.
Mhm. That's great.
And there was one time when um, we were there for a long time, and somebody came by and said, aren't you a reader?" I said, "Yeah." And she asked for a reading, and before I know what was happening, I had doctors and nurses lined up for quickie readings
Oh, wow.
in the emergency room.
Oh, that's funny.
So it was
That's
fun.
cute.
Well, I tried to make it fun because when you're
Mhm.
frightened and in the emergency room, you know,
Mm.
I said to my mother at one point, "Are you keeping track of who's getting a reading?" And she looked at me and she said, "I'm here because I have an emergency." And I said, "You can still have the emergency. Just keep track. I don't read the same person more than once."
Oh, that's
And
funny.
yeah, no, she was a very good sport about everything. And
Mhm.
so it was easy. And it's funny, she was that generation. So that when the doctor came in to see her, and it was her heart doctor, he would say, "Hi, Dorothy, how are you doing?" She said, "I'm just fine. How are you?" And he said, "Well, how do you feel?" And she said, "I feel great." And he looked at me and I said, "She's going to lie to you because she doesn't want to disappoint you." And and I said, "Mother, why are you here?" She said, "Well, I am having heart problems. I am having losing my breath." And she went into all of her things, and
Mhm.
it was so cute because she wanted to be in good health when she saw him.
Mhm. Well,
So,
that's optimistic.
well, it's a generation. There is a generation that
Mhm.
doesn't want to be sick and doesn't want to go to the emergency
Right.
room. And
Yeah.
and we went so often. We almost had a standing reservation. It was awful.
Mm. Wow. Yeah, it's
Yep.
not cheap either going to emergency.
No, her insurance covered her. She was okay with
That's
that.
good.
I caught her I caught her sneaking into the bag for some of the candy bars one day at
Mm.
home. I said, "No, no, 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 no."
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, watch the
Yeah.
expiration date on those too.
Oh no, no,
Stale candy bars. Ugh,
no candy bar ever lives that long in my house.
not
So
usually. No, but I've even caught stale candy bars at the grocery store. That's my point.
but
Yeah.
getting back to having a go bag, it's not a bad
Mhm.
idea. Um, and if you have a senior citizen that goes to the hospital on a regular basis, having a go bag for them is not a bad idea either. It's just it's be prepared. It's be a Girl Scout, Boy Scout. Um, it's
Mhm.
anticipating what could happen and make sure that you're prepared for it. And I think that we're coming into
Right.
times when that is happening. Look at the floods that have hit this country in many different places. Um,
Mhm.
there were people who were so isolated they had no walkie-talkies or any way of communicating with anybody. If you're living off the grid, so to speak, having a form of communication is a must.
Mhm.
And
Oh, yeah.
I know at one point I talked to Jeannie a lot, and we both looked into oh gosh, what's the kind of
Ham
the
radio?
radio? No, the one that satellite radio,
Oh,
and
okay.
we looked into it um, because we do talk so frequently, and if the communication system went out, it was kind of like my routine would be broken if I hadn't talked to her,
Mhm.
and they were just too expensive. But um, I think if it meant communicating with the outside world, wherever the outside world was, it might not be a bad idea to have one.
Mhm. Right. Yeah, they might have gone down in price. I don't know how long ago you checked.
Ooh, I don't either. It just was it was definitely not within my budget nor hers. So,
Mhm.
but important to have that kind of preparation. I think that in a way, all of us have to be preppers to a certain extent these days because the stability of the earth itself and the governments on the earth is such that you don't know how stable things are going to be a month, a year, a week from now.
Mhm.
So having stuff that is ready for a problem in many ways means the problem won't happen.
Mhm. That's
You
true.
know. Now I'm not saying dig a hole in your backyard to, prepare for, a tornado or whatever, unless of course you want to do that, and then that's a great idea. But
Mhm.
um I looked around here and, there are 14 units here. Nobody has a safe room in their garage or something that would sustain a tornado.
Mhm.
My son has, his house that's here in Nashville. He does not have anything, and they've lived here for years.
Mhm.
So that there is I'm sure there are people that have storm cellars, but I haven't met any.
No,
So
I haven't either.
so it's a matter of okay, so that while they can hit, chances are great they won't.
Mhm.
And the last tornado that hit here, I can remember watching on TV. It hit not far from me, not probably 10 miles, within 10 miles, and it was a jewelry store that went.
Hmm.
And I told my neighbor, I said, let's go see if we can help pick up. If it's scattered jewelry all over the place, I'm all for going around with a metal detector looking for some of it.
Diamond ring.
Yeah. Um, Apparently they got all of the good stuff,
Oh, that's good.
out before it happened, but we
Mhm.
drove by the next day and there was nothing except a foundation. It
Oh my
was
goodness.
totally
Wow.
gone. I mean, you have to really see this stuff to believe. I mean, half of a store was gone.
Mhm.
And then right next door, everything was fine and perfect. It's the most amazing thing you've
Oh,
ever seen. It's just,
that's a bummer.
it's, it's a crapshoot what gets
Yeah, it
hit and
is.
what doesn't.
Right.
So it's kind of like be more prepared than normal and do check your expiration dates and make sure that your cupboard is stocked with edible stuff.
Mhm.
Every now and then I look at my canned goods and I think, eh, I had better eat this before it expires on me. And
Mhm.
sometimes it's not exactly something that, I mean, I had a lot of soups for some reason. So,
Well, soups are good. It's a good one.
eh.
Keep on hand. Well, I like soups.
Well, let me put it this way: if I was really hungry, it would be delicious.
Mhm.
But
Or if you're not feeling good or something. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, but it's kind of like, okay, um, be alert, be attuned to the fact that it is much as the television seems to not tell you, but it is an unstable time, and just be prepared.
Mhm.
Um, when I think back of when I was a kid growing up, and then my mother when she was a kid growing up, the world was a completely different place.
Mhm.
And there
Yeah.
was, first of all, there was not the destruction that we see, and the ferocity of the weapons that governments have. And when you look at what's happening in I mean Israel and the Ukraine and other parts of the world, um, it's frightening. And when you remember 9/11 and what happened to us here, that could happen. And the
Mhm.
weapons are there, and countries who are unstable have the kind of weapons that could throw that kind of damage at us. And you just it's a different world.
Mhm. Definitely. You have to be just pay attention, stay focused. What's going on in your environment?
Yeah, I mean, I know you're all set to go off grid and go off planet if you have the
Yeah.
chance,
Well,
but
that's me, I'm ready for anything usually.
is it beam me up, Scotty, or is it?
It's open up a gateway and let's go.
You know that place, and I'm not sure where it is, where there's a doorway carved in a rock?
Yeah. Oh, who was it that had sat in that?
Where is
Oh, what's
that?
his name? Oh,
Is
I
it
can't remember now. I don't wanna say Peru, it's not there,
no?
yeah, it's not called the Devil's Door, is it?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
And and it's just that it looks like it's a portal. It looks like it's a doorway, and it just hasn't been
Mhm.
activated. And I think there are a couple of places on the planet that are like that. The doorway is there, but it hasn't been activated. And
Mhm.
I think there are places like that, especially in the Bosnian pyramid tunnels. I do believe
Mhm.
that there are portals that are there that are not activated yet, and yet there are still some portals on the planet that I'm pretty sure are activated and ready to go, and hopefully not controlled by a government of any sort.
Mhm. Yeah, stay tuned for that one. That's
Yeah.
all I have to say.
No, that is massively frightening. Um, That's why I don't think that there will ever be a spaceship that lands on the White House lawn. I
Mm-mm.
think, come on, if a government has to control something like that, chances are, none of us will ever learn of it. But there are going to be other subtle ways of finding out, and I do believe that we're going to have in your lifetime and mine, we're going to see extraterrestrials become more and more a part of our life.
Mhm. Well, it's us anyway, so might as well just open it all up.
Well, to you and I it is, yeah, but I mean, normal
Mhm.
people, regular people don't believe
Oh,
in it.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, they'll have to get educated.
That's
They'll
gonna
be
be
okay.
fun.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, that governmental thing that went on, years and years ago where the government didn't think that the US population could handle the fact that there were
Mm.
extraterrestrials. I mean, these days, I mean, if you take it back several generations, a plane from the US landing in Europe someplace, um,
Mhm.
would have been mind-boggling and frightening.
Mhm.
And I think it's the same way with space travel these days, or not travel, but the portals and opening the portals and people coming through that are
Mhm.
definitely not terrestrial.
Right. Well, I think they've
So,
seen enough sci-fi movies, so hopefully that'll help.
oh, I hope so. But Hollywood hasn't helped any. I mean,
Not really.
they make it frightening, and while there's good and bad in every culture, in every race, in every species, so that there have to be good and bad, and I think we have to be discerning no matter which way we go.
Mhm. Very true.
Um, just notice the time.
I know.
You want to let people know where you're going to be and how to find you?
Sure. Well, I have Raven Star's Witching Hour every Saturday over there on Revolution Radio, 12 midnight Eastern Time, 9 p.m. Pacific. And then I have Hyperspace Night Files on Revolution Radio, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And everybody can tune in there if they want on Fridays. And of course, my website's Night Shadow Anomaly Detectives, and my books are on Amazon. And once again, it's been wonderful to connect with you, Barbara.
Oh, it's always fun to talk to you. It
It
really
is.
is.
It's been a really nice night and just a wonderful conversation.
Absolutely, and hopefully people learn something. If nothing else,
Hmm.
go bags.
That's right.
Um,
And expiration dates.
yes. And I'm at barbaradelong.com, and you can find all my information there and connection to the other sites I'm on. And I welcome you to visit. Be nice to have visitors. And thank you again, Solaris. And I
My
will talk
pleasure.
to you soon.
Thank you.